KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears no responsibility.
Flames, 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 flames! Chinese terrorism comes to the United States. Fake driver's licenses getting seized in record numbers, and a huge tragedy in Beirut. All that and more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show. I want you to say something inappropriate.
No.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
How are you? How are you? How are
I'm
you?
very excited about your Flames.
Me too.
I can tell.
6-2 win last night.
6-2. They missed the extra point.
Yeah, they did.
Couple field goals. What's the deal?
2 field goals and a safety. They gave up the safety late when they didn't want to punt out of their own end zone.
The NBA played last night. Who cares?
Who cares? We can get into that. Flames 2-1 winners. My New York Rangers lost. They're out.
So the series is over?
That series is over.
They
3
move on.
straight. No, Flames is no best of 5.
Okay, best of 5.
Rangers are done. They lose in 3.
Then what's the
They get
next one?
swept.
Best of 8.
No, the way they're doing this, hockey's not that weird.
Just
It's
goes
not
on
cricket.
forever. It goes on forever.
It's not cricket.
And in the best of 32 season,
But they took the top 4 teams in each conference. They're playing around robin
out of how many? 5.
to reseed themselves 1 through 4, and then 5 through 12. I think are playing the best of 5 qualifying series,
Right.
and then you'll get down to 16 teams. So half the NHL makes the playoffs.
I mean, you've got a chance. If you're a 500 club, you just
Now 500 doesn't even get you close anymore.
okay.
It did when 16 of the 21 teams made it.
That's ridiculous.
You could be well under 500 and still make the playoffs back then. But you were usually quickly exposed for your ineptitude.
Sure.
And even then, the Detroit Red
As
Wings.
if that 30 and
Yeah.
60 record didn't show that you were inept.
Oh, I know.
Now you go to the
Well, there was no
playoffs.
TV money back then. It was all ticket revenue, right?
You get humiliated. Well, that makes sense. You've got to have people in the seats.
And for some reason, the Detroit Red Wings still never made the playoffs back then.
Isn't
Even
that crazy?
yeah, no. That was when the NHL was a little bit of a laughing stock.
Where did the
amongst pro
Red Wing
sports.
come from?
You know,
It had
I don't know.
Like an automobile tire.
Yeah, it still does.
Okay.
It's still, I think, one of the greatest logos in sports. Even
Yeah.
though I'm not a fan of the team, I think it's just an awesome logo.
I can still picture just that complete red uniform with the white logo, the wheel and the wing on it.
Yeah, that's
Very
basically all it is.
Very cool.
I believe they were the Detroit Falcons, if I remember, at one point, if I remember my NHL history lineage.
Well, were they named after the Ford Falcon, or was it a
No,
Ford?
long before that. Long before.
Really, way back.
Going
Yeah,
back to
way
the
back.
1910s, 1920s.
Give me a weather whip.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked, so let's do that.
Well, we do. That's our show. We
Well,
do.
once in a while we can, but we were just waiting for people to get in because they want to know what's
Good morning,
what's
Judge
happening.
Posey.
So let's do this.
Wade and Carter Weather brought to you by Deerland Feed Store. Highly recommend you go down. It's kind of a trip down memory lane, nostalgia, the smells, the sights. It's a very, very cool business.
The products, everybody I know that plants any sort of seed doesn't wait for them to come from in the mail from China.
Right.
They
You
go
don't know what it is.
Yeah. We'll get into that because that became interesting.
Don't plan it.
No, but everybody I know that does any legitimate gardening buys their seeds from Deerland.
But all the concentrates you need as well. Fertilizers, custom fertilizers. They've got seeds. They've got all the different things you need to kill various insects, bugs, fungi.
Blight.
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it at Deerland Feed.
True story. Matt Boucher, our ag extension agent, came out because I was having a problem with the Japanese blueberry tree, and I needed liquid copper fungicide. You don't want to spray it on anything that might get turned blue because it's blue, can
Right.
stain. The only place I found it, and I went to 4 different places in Victoria, was Deerlam Feed Store.
There you go.
So
So now you can just go to Deerlam first. Why drive all over town?
yeah, that's what I'm
Now
trying to
that's
tell
where
you.
would go.
Yep. That's where you need to go. They've
The
got it
important
right
thing
there.
is, the Durham weather says it's 75 in Victoria right now, heading to a high of 96, same as it ever was.
Look at that listener testimonial. Jimbo Slice says he needs some fence posts, and they have them at very good prices. So there you go.
There you go. Lacey Deerlam Rosenquist will help you do that.
Scott Tomko, good morning to you. Joe Mitchell, Larry Leahy. I think the PGA Championship is this weekend, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I'll take Tiger. Now you got to take Justin Thomas right now.
He's
He's on
hot.
a roll.
I don't know. He can come off winning that one and then turn around and win a big one. That's
What
pretty
about
rare to
Matt
be
Kuchar?
done. Kuchar's always in contention
What
at
about Phil
majors.
Mickelson? He finished second in the last tournament. Phil might like another major, kind of re-cement his his marketability. He's into now. He's talking about Depends and arthritis medicine. He used to talk about cars.
Gearing up for the senior tour, Champions Tour.
He'll be
as they
tough
refer
on the
to it.
senior tour.
Yeah.
And he's out there driving their little par fours.
Wow. Here's the two I'm going to watch this weekend: Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy. Rory is sort of sneakily getting back into golf form.
Well, he married that supermodel. Who did he marry? Did he marry that girl that was the pole vaulter from Cal?
No, I no.
Joe Mitchell will know. Rory McIlroy married
I don't think so.
a girl that's taller and better looking than him. It just shows how much money he makes off of. Oh, good. We lost a YouTuber.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
awesome.
Shamed him.
Bobby Leister, good morning to you. Marvin Mickish.
You can ask Joe Mitchell for a world class player. There's nobody on the planet that can miss a putt when it matters like Dustin Johnson. Nobody close to being able to just gag one away like DJ. And I think it's because deep in his heart, he's a loser. Cokehead.
You know what's interesting though? I think if you
Wayne
take like the Tigers and some of those, he's one of the most. He's got like some of the most wins on the tour.
Oh no,
he's
no,
up there.
He can play, but he should have been in the majors.
Oh yeah, he should have. Yeah,
it's hard to putt with one hand on your throat
and one in your pocket, making sure your cocaine is still there.
Exactly. Wayne Gretzky staring at you from the gallery with a stick in his hand.
Karen Webb checking in. Adam Daughtry, good morning. Ron Sitka.
Hello, Mr. Sitka.
Scott Snow. Patrick Strauss, good morning. Pat McDonald, again, a big thank you.
I hope Pat saw the jerseys yesterday.
I hope so. Chris Conrad, no condolences to your Jets. They just looked terrible yesterday.
Jets, Jets, Jets.
Got beat by the FLAMES Flames. Dave Garza, good morning. It's been a while. Judge Posey checking in. Don Nicola's in. H.R. Mallory.
Hello, T-Lat.
BJ Nelson, good morning. Robin Moore Knipling.
Did BJ say that we were losing?
Yeah, I think the golf talk.
Oh, BJ. Broaden your horizons.
Chris Jansen, good morning to you.
Hey, great time to tell you while he's calling names. We're going to do something here pretty quick, and it's up to Ms. Nelson, whatever she wants to do. But she's now a voter registrar, and we want to get the vote out for 2020. Whoever you vote for, we want you to vote. We want you to vote informed, and we want you to vote legally. I mean, I want you to come
legally and informed. That's the way you should vote.
We would like for BJ Nelson to come by here, and she'll do a drive-through thing. You can drive through on your way to work, pick up the card. If you sign it right then, which just takes a moment, she will then turn the card in for you, and you'll be registered to vote for this presidential election. Now,
so she's voter registration harvesting.
Yes.
As opposed to ballot harvesting. We'll get into that.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a problem with this mail-in vote deal. We'll tell you about it in a minute.
But she's working as a voter, I guess you would say registrar?
Yes.
Would that be the right term?
Correct.
Because you have until October 5th in the state of Texas to register to vote for the November 3rd election. There's no reason between now That gives you 2 full months to get registered
Sure.
to vote in November. There's no excuse. And we will remind people constantly. There will be no excuse for any of our listeners on whatever platform that they should not be able to vote.
Absolutely. Jimbo Slice says he needed a deer feeder, so he went to
Deerland Feeds.
Deerland Feed.
Nice. Whoa.
We don't have
Turn
to
your
talk-
radio down. I think we do, but their radio was
Talk
might have
to
been a
us
little
on the
high.
phone.
Good morning, Wade and Carter. Hey, BJ, how are you?
Hey, we were just talking about you.
You want to talk golf, don't you?
Well, that's our buddy Matt Kim too out there at Bomb Diggity. If you can get something going with them, we'll help coordinate it. There's nobody in the parking lot at Magic at this time of day. So we could literally just set up a little table, have the Bomb Diggity crew show up, maybe make some tacos and whatever. I mean, we're totally willing to be a part of it.
I like that.
People they can come in and talk to us, register and come in and say hi to the show. Whatever. That you volunteered?
Yeah,
voluntold.
Voluntold, I
that.
like that.
I like the way you work. Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. Have a
great day.
trash-tastic day.
There you go.
Thanks, BJ. Appreciate the call.
She's driving around that new big red trash truck that White Trash Services has. By the way, if you need them, 550-1826. It's just that easy.
Scott Tomko says Deerland Feed had all the parts they needed for the feeders that he has. Lots of hidden gems over there.
Yeah, you got motors, components, batteries, solar panels. You've got all that stuff for your feeder. They have it all.
So good to know.
Fantastic.
Matt Boucher, good morning to you.
I bet they know Matt Boucher. Like Matt Boucher walks in, it's kind of like having Emerald walk into your restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Matt Boucher walks into a feed store. It's him. It's Matt Boucher,
Careful.
right? All the master gardeners. Oh, it's Matt Boucher. He's so cute.
Jeffrey Fonseca says Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, Koepka can play. He also had a very high finish, second or third this last week.
Peter McNally, good morning. Iceman checking in. Shannon Lewis, Pablo Perez, good morning. Adam Daughtry says he's got 5 mail-in ballots ready to hand in.
Well, that's a great point. We're going to get to that after the break. In fact, right now, let's just do it real quick. Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. If your car won't go, if you need to get a vehicle across town or across the country, call Allen's. They'll
You can
tow
do
it
it,
for
yeah.
you. 578-6300. They also have an office in Refugio.
Tow's such a misnomer nowadays.
It's not. They put everything on a trailer. It's
Or a flatbed. I mean, they're not just jacking up the front bumper and
you can't
towing it anymore.
Yeah.
you got a good point. There are no front bumpers anymore.
It's the only people I would let touch my car. 578-6300. That's Allen's Record Service. The VCS companies, Rocket Oilfield Services, and the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer are all part of our banner sponsor, the Hartman Communication Empire. If it talks to the police, if it talks to the fire, if it talks to your neighbor on the phone,
if it monitors your temperature as you walk into a building for COVID
isn't that
symptoms,
cool? It is so cool. The technology just grows exponentially, and the Hartmans are at the cutting edge of that. Reach out to the VCS companies for all of you dream it up, they've probably already done it. So reach out to them. SCT Building Systems, Clayton and Casey Held. I talked to Clayton yesterday. He's looking at getting into broadening coastal landscape, looking at doing some stuff that involves tractors and shredders and balers. Oh my. Looking at doing that.
wow.
So call him, 564-8864, whether you want to build a home,
He just doesn't have enough to do, does
a
he?
barn, right? It just keeps growing. Well, that's kind of what happened to the Hartmans.
He's the perpetual hobbyist.
You get in there and you get busy, and somebody says, "Could you do this?" Well, I think I could. Well, I need you to do it for 5,000 acres. Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I think he's entrepreneurial and aggressive and smart. Comes from a great family. The Helts have been here a long time. Reach out to Clayton and Casey. Let them solve your problems. And then Chesapeake Furniture Company, speaking of being here a long time, how about 100 years downtown Victoria?
Yeah. It's almost hard. You almost can't wrap your head around that
No.
in this day and
It's
age.
like how long Nancy Pelosi's been loaded. 116 West Waterloo, the corner of Waterloo and Bridge.
I give her a 99. She was at least on the bottle of milk back in the day.
What, Nancy? I said that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Reach out to Chesapeake Furniture Company. Chesapeake and Love make your house a home. And you just do better
You
than
just do better
Chesapeake.
there.
One of the concerns I had is, let's just say, like in my house, my mom and dad live with us, and Dawn's there. So you've got 4 adults, and let's say that we all request mail-in ballots.
Which is part of the process. Well, no, I think that's part of the process in Texas. There are a lot of states, and I think Nevada is one of them. They're just mailing out ballots to people.
Get your ballot. So you get your ballot, and my mom, let's just say she's not. My mom is fairly resolute and on top of who she's going to vote for.
But this is just an example.
She says, I'm not going to vote this year. Well, gee, Mom, you ought to vote. Do you mind if I just mail your ballot in? And the next thing you know, I'm voting twice. It could happen, and it's wrong, and it's voter fraud. I think, and Ash brought this point up, and it was so commonsensical that I figured there had to be a reason it wouldn't work. But there's not. You have to be registered by October 5th in order to vote in person in
November.
You have to be 30 days in advance. Why not just open up early voting in September? And you just go whenever you have time. Now, because if the big concern is social distancing, people are protesting about mail-in. People are gathering in mobs to protest about mail-in votes. We've got to be safe. We've got to be safe.
No masks.
It's just
dumb. No, it is dumb. I haven't seen too many complaints locally, but don't forget, this is the city that lined up for hours with no social distancing just to get a free COVID test.
Well, there you go. Jimbo Slice says, if your mom signs that mail-in ballot, it's not fraud. It might be shady, but not fraud. Tell you what, I've bought 2 houses with my mom in the past, and I can sign her name better than she does. So it's fraud. Could be fraud. The whole point.
My mom's handwriting was so bad that when I had to get homework signed and turned in, I got accused of signing my mom's signature. Right. Sorry, Tina. It's just the truth.
Daniel Moore de la Garza checks in. Ryan Lott.
Patrick Stowe says, got to wait for the debate. That's not going to happen. See, I'll say this, and that's I'm not exactly buying that because I went back and looked. I don't see Joe Biden ever saying he was not going to debate President Trump in a bunch of debates. I think President Trump floated that out there, and it's caught wind with conservative-leaning media.
That Biden plans to debate him? I can't wait for Joe
No, I
Biden
can't
to
either,
debate
and I hope he does. But how do you not? You stood on a stage with 16 other more qualified folks than you,
right,
and beat them all, even
right.
though your debate performances were terrible. I don't want to say more qualified, equally qualified.
Talking about Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woke crowd that was so woke, they nominated an old, white, rich dude to represent them.
Because they're the party of change. Hope and change, man. They're the party. They're all about young people. They're all about people having a living wage, which is why they nominated an old, rich, white guy who's always been in public service, but he's rich. He's 43 years in Congress, but he's rich.
Greg Garcia says he has a feeling his dearly departed Labrador Retriever will be voting this year if mail-in ballots are allowed.
I saw that deal before. It said, things are so bad. My grandfather is going to vote Democrat this year, which is something he would have never done if he was alive.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And that's how the Democrats are going to try to steal the election. There's no way you're going to mail in a bunch of ballots and Trump's going to win. No way.
And if mail-in ballots, if mail-in voting gets to the numbers that both sides say, the Democrats use those numbers. These are the disenfranchised voters,
Right.
and the Republicans fearmonger the other way. These are the illegal votes.
There's BJ Nelson gives us some. She's good now. This registrar class she went to, she made some notes, kind of like us with the guns. October 13th through October 30th. So right up until 4 days before the election, or November 2nd, right?
I was not aware of that.
There you have it. You sound like Johnny Carson. I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Right. Ho, ho, ho. I'll be Ed McMahon. Ho, 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 ho.
I was not aware.
Oh,
I
great.
did not know that.
Oh, great Karnak.
Ed.
Yeah, you'd say Ed. Doc Severinsen in the Tonight Show Orchestra.
But
Here's Mr. Warmth.
we could be waiting forever for the results of this election. And mail-in voting doesn't seem to be a huge component of any election, ever. There are those that request ballots, and that should be the proper process. Just blanketly sending out a bunch of ballots to people is ridiculous.
Greg Garcia says that Joe Biden's going to think he's on an episode of Family Feud during the debate. He's trying to hit the button. Survey says, hey, we need J-Dub. Our survey says. BJ says her friends call her the 411 because she's got the information.
She's Google.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's good to know. So you can register to vote almost up to election day. So really there's no excuse now that you can't get to. So let's open up early voting. I don't see how this becomes a problem.
Yep. So let me ask you another question. Let's shift gears on you.
All right.
Let's shift gears about what happened. Did you see the explosion yesterday in Beirut?
Yeah, this thing was felt 180 miles away.
Okay.
Is it still a Greek island? Cyprus? They felt it in Cyprus. Across the Mediterranean.
I'm cynical. I believe in covert operations. I think there's all kinds of stuff that happens that we don't talk about. Okay.
Was there a similar type of explosion in Texas City? They're saying now ammonium nitrate. I didn't buy the first story.
It wasn't in Texas. It was in West
Texas, yes.
West Texas, yes. And it was
it wasn't that big.
Yeah, but here's what I don't understand. At first, there was no doubt. It was identified as a fireworks building facility. It's a facility they build fireworks in Beirut. And I thought to myself at the time, when you pay
is Beirut in China?
It's right in the middle of town. Like, that's a dumb place to build fireworks.
Right at the port. Makes sense if you're getting all your materials for fireworks from China.
Point. There you go. Okay, so let that ride. That made sense. But the ammonium nitrate isn't used in fireworks. It's used in fertilizer. And they shifted gears and decided, because they were just as adamant that it was an ammonium nitrate facility. It sure was a big boom. And it sure makes you wonder what might have been going on in that building. And was, for example, Mossad or CIA involved in blowing that building up? It always makes me wonder stuff like that.
Well, with the history with Israel and Lebanon, yeah, you do kind of wonder. There's my beautiful wife, Cheryl, checking in. But I was skeptical right off the get-go when they said it was a fireworks. Because I remember seeing footage of fireworks factories that blow up. There's bottle rockets shooting off. I mean, there's no one big massive detonation that shoots off an orange ball of fire and a mushroom cloud, and the concussion is felt. I mean, I saw a video of this thing where it's obviously on a phone and it's coming at you, and people are getting knocked down.
The phone gets knocked down. Like 5 miles away.
Yeah, I shared one yesterday of a car driving by that the car got destroyed. I mean, airbags went off. And it wasn't next to it, but I mean, hundreds are now dead. They don't have an exact number. Thousands have been injured. Unfortunately, it turned Beirut into what Beirut looked like in the 1980s. It's reminiscent of that. I mean, and Beirut had come back. I mean, Beirut was a beautiful modern city.
Adam Doctor says ammonium nitrate is used in IEDs. There you go.
And it was interesting because I saw videos and a lot of, flashes, and people were trying to say, well, that's typical of fireworks. Again, nothing shooting out of that, quote, fireworks factory, right?
Switowski says you had a similar type explosion in Texas City back in 1946. And Jimbo Slice added that the explosion in West was less than 1/100th as powerful as the explosion in Beirut. And the explosion in West leveled stuff for a pretty good perimeter and killed a bunch of people.
But nowhere near this one. But I thought it was interesting because what I thought was interesting, these flashes, they were bright and white. Yeah. And nothing was shooting out of there like you would expect again at a fireworks factory. It looked to me like they almost looked like demolition charges. When they destroy a building.
Actually, forensic arsonist.
Forensic YouTuber.
Right.
That's what it looked like to me.
And conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Well, you should know. I mean, you made an A in explosives back in Ukraine.
If I didn't, I wouldn't be standing here.
Exactly.
Literally and figuratively.
Old Bill's got one arm, but they gave him another chance. Yeah. Adam Dodger says it was a hydrogen bomb. There you go. That's it. That's the news we want to get out here on Wade and Carter. Hydrogen bomb. That'll do it. That'll teach them.
Iceman says somebody was backed up from Taco Bell.
Right. Well, Iceman, you spend that much time behind a windshield. Iceman knows what'll back you up.
Tim Dodge says, so possibly couldn't the fire have started in fireworks storage that might have then spread to the ammonium nitrate storage? Those would be two awfully close buildings if that's the case.
Right next to the gasoline depot.
Yeah. But again, I've seen
the missiles there. That's a safe place.
Yeah. I've seen enough videos of fireworks facilities going up, and there was none of it wasn't. You didn't hear the pew pew.
You saw some of that on cartoons.
Yeah, exactly.
We know that's how it goes.
Made by Acme.
Labeled yourself an expert
just by watching Wile E. Coyote.
You got Nancy Pelosi going, "Do you see the explosions in Beirut?"
How come the media hasn't jumped all over that for that?
How come none of these people ever die? I mean, why? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, what is she on life support? I mean, bless her heart. Why doesn't somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who's in the bag by noon every day, why don't they ever just have a heart attack and open up a seat?
Pickled.
Just open up a seat in Congress.
Adam Daughtry might have been the world's biggest meth lab.
Could have been. Big Blue, making Big Blue.
But, yeah, I mean, that's a terrible tragedy.
No, it is terrible. They said originally, the number I saw, you saw over 100 dead.
Yeah, this morning they were saying over 100. I know last night it was dozens.
They'll all be voting Democrat in November.
Yeah. Jimbo Slice says, let's say they were receiving stuff from North Korea because that happens. Mossad or CIA took care of it.
Very possible. That
was one of the first responses I saw. It was blame Israel, blame Israel.
Now, if you're blaming Israel, that's because Israel's probably right.
Well,
don't mess with the Jews. You won't like the outcome.
Michael Jolly, next phase of 2020. This year just keeps getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah, you thought 19 was like on a roll. The first quarter of 2020 was great.
Then the election infection hits.
Yeah. Trump derangement syndrome
reaches an all-time peak.
The only thing you can do?
What's that?
Go to Veracruz for lunch today. Get in there and get the caldo.
Oh, it is Caldo Wednesday.
Seems like just the other day we mentioned it, but they sell out every Wednesday. Get into Veracruz today.
Yeah. If you don't go early, you're not getting called.
By the way, Ash and I are going to talk to you folks in a minute about some of the problems, the global problems associated with COVID and how it relates to the U.S. And I'm going to tell you, you can practice clean eating and you can eat healthy at Veracruz. You don't have to go in there and fall into a plate of enchiladas and just stay down there and
drown.
Gruel. You can do that once
You
a
can.
month.
You can in moderation.
Highly recommend it, but you can't live there. If you do, you might get the COVID. We'll talk about that in a minute. 576-6015. You can get an enchilada casserole to go and eat with discretion and be pleased. Veracruz is just quite simply the best Mexican food in town. They have all the great sides, your hot sauce, your queso, your guac. The flour tortillas are just extraordinary.
You've summed it up. Best Mexican food in town.
There you go. Razor IT Solutions reached out to JP Hull. JP probably knows what was in that plant in Beirut. He's kind of a covert kind of guy. He can hack into their website and see what it's all about, break through their encryption. He may be a CIA operative. Maybe that's why you guys are so close. Professional respect.
I haven't seen Johnny Houghton check in, but I bet you Johnny Houghton has some ideas. He spent a lot of time over in the Middle East with the Canadian Army.
Yep. Because nothing strikes fear in the Middle East like when the Canadians show up.
Darn rights.
Sorry. Where's the cheese curds? The Kurds? You're after the Kurds? No, we're after the Shiites. But where's the cheese curds? Razor IT Solutions. JP will solve all your problems. He'll help you with your website presence. He'll help you with your Facebook presence. Help you build a brand. Help you collect money. He'll make your day easier. The Ads and Offer dealership since 1926.
Adsandoffer.com. Not quite since 1926, but
selling
close.
them cheap. Well, since Al Gore made the internet, Ads and Offer's been on it.
Cadillac, Mitsubishi, Mazda, Chevrolet.
Do it. I'm taking my mom's car there today. It's not any of those makes. Taking it over. They called yesterday to confirm, Mr. Carter, we have the filter that we need for your mom's car. Bring it by anytime after 10. We'll take care of it for you.
Nice.
It's a wonderful, wonderful service operation. Yeah. Wonderful. Super duper. Take it over there, and they'll take care of it for you.
Is that your Nancy Pelosi impression?
That's super. Got doggy poo on my quarterbacks. The Ads and Offer dealerships just since 1926.
Don't go there in that car after doing a physical impression.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi, you'll get pulled over.
They used to say, if you don't buy it today, we'll be here tomorrow. But you need to go buy it today. They're not in the car collection business. That's one thing they don't do. They'd like to sell it. We already mentioned White Trash Services, but worth another mention. 550-1826.
6-county service region, expanding southward into Rockport area, Holiday Beach, soon into Fort A and Aransas Pass.
Get down there and take care. Dwayne Proctor will help you with your laptop issues, 550-4744. And everything we do of any substance comes from Compadres Design Inc. We have new T-shirts on order.
They haven't moved yet.
How are our shirts coming? They went, so that means soon. We'll have them soon. So here's the problem. Nobody wants to hear this. I said this a while back. This COVID deal is going to run its course. The entire deal of flattening the curve was only to flatten the curve of inevitability. Nobody ever said that by washing your hands and keeping your distance, that
wearing a mask,
people weren't going to get the virus.
Using illegal hand sanitizer.
They literally said that you may not get it if you can keep your distance and wear a mask. And it's still 50-50 whether the mask does anything, but at least it makes you feel good. Some of you, it makes you feel so good that you hate your neighbor for not wearing it, which is childish.
And hate them so much you'll call the police on them.
He's not wearing a mask.
He's not standing on the square where he says he's supposed to stand.
But here's the deal. America is fat. It's been confirmed. It's been talked about.
40 to 42%, depending on which demographic study you look at, of the United States of America is considered obese.
Obese is a comorbidity with COVID.
And it is a comorbidity multiplier. British health officials released a study, and Johns Hopkins researchers have looked at this and a whole bunch of others across the country. But this one brought home some numbers that were staggering. If your body mass index is 30, well, let me start at the beginning. Just being obese gives you a 5 times greater bad outcome if you catch the COVID than if not. Being overweight, that chance of a bad outcome goes up twofold.
Right. Just by being overweight.
just by being overweight.
The taxing it does to your body and your system.
So
I'm a twofold guy.
You're a twofold.
Yeah, I'm a twofold guy.
If you have a body mass index of 35 to 40, according to the British data,
It's getting a little chunky.
40% chance greater risk of dying from COVID. If your body mass index is above 40, that chance of dying jumps to a 90% greater risk. So if you're over 40, you're dead pretty much from COVID.
But you're dying of diabetes or kidney failure or
You're
heart
dying of
disease.
obesity
You're dying
slowly.
anyway. So here's the point. Lose some weight. Quit wondering, quit comparing the U.S. to Asian countries where they eat fish and rice and everybody's skinny.
And
This ain't Buddha. If you're Buddha, you're dying of the COVID.
And and I don't remember which country it is, either Japan or China, where I think the obesity rate of their population is like 5%. I mean, it's almost negligible.
But you pointed out yesterday that what's going to happen is Americans are going to keep dying. They're going to keep blaming Donald Trump, and it's going to get labeled genocide at some point. They're like, Donald Trump did this on purpose. That's what you're going to hear from the left.
It's already starting. I've heard it in a couple of media reports over the weekend. Because when I'm out driving, I peruse different talk shows. And the left has already started to use that little stupid genocide narrative.
Yep.
And it will pick up traction as we get towards the election. You watch, you mark my words.
No doubt.
It will happen.
We always mark your words. They're always there. You can go back and listen to last week's show. The reality is, and I've said this and nobody wants to really hear it, the flattening of the curve was simply a response, and I think a mature response, to the idea that we might overwhelm all of the ER rooms. Well, now we know that everybody that gets the COVID doesn't need a ventilator. You don't need a ventilator. In fact, that was helping exacerbate some of the issues. The curve was flattened. It just meant that instead of everybody getting it in 60 days, everybody's going to get it in 90 days, making those numbers up. You're still going to get the same number of people, the same penetration into the society that you were going to get anyway. If you were going to get it, you're going to get it. And if you're going to die of it, you're going to die of it. Now, you might be able to ride this out till they come up with a vaccine by flattening the curve. But at what expense? If every business in our country is out of business, Jimbo Slice pointed out, sent me a text this morning, said we're still averaging about 60 cases a day. That's what we average. That's what we were averaging before they shut down all the small businesses, the bars and all that. Open them back up. People that are going to get it are going to get it. People that are going to die are going to die. It's no different than the wildebeest going across the Serengeti. There is no bypass. At some point, you got to go through the river with the crocodiles. That's just the way it works. All these people that are always talking about, there's too many people on the earth, global warming, climate change. Guess what? All of a sudden, nature rears its real head.
And they want to save every one of them.
You want to save everybody. You can't save everybody. People are going to die. Guess what? People have been dying since the beginning of time. Get over it. Get back to living. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Wear your mask if you want to, but meet me at the Brown Bag for a burger.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this garbage.
Johnny Houghton says BMI is misleading. They use in the Canadian military. People were considered overweight when they were fit because of body musculature.
That's
I get that.
You, John.
But here's the thing, John.
You chubby little fella.
Those people dying of COVID in England are fat. There's no mistaking their body shape and type for somebody who's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, Johnny. And I've seen some of the pictures of people that they say are morbidly obese, and some of them aren't. But the reality is, if you're overweight, and you know if you're overweight, and America is a fat country, that's the truth.
44, almost half. I mean, if you look at it that way, almost half our country is considered obese. We lead the world in another stat that we don't need to be proud of.
Right.
But I can't help but believe that the correlation between us leading the world in COVID cases isn't just a result of our testing, because at some point we were leading it and we weren't testing at a greater rate than any other country on the planet either. Half our country is obese. We're fat. And we're blowing away the competition when it comes to COVID cases and deaths.
That's right. And that's just nature at its most brutally pure. Nature always wins.
Now, if the Trump administration really wants to do something, get Arnold back leading the physical fitness campaign, and let's start getting people motivated and active. But that part has been, and I've said this long ago, with all the comorbidity data that we knew early on, based on what was happening in Italy and Spain and England, there was no talk at all from anybody about encouraging people to do what they can to live healthier and get fit quicker.
Right? Jimbo Slice says beef jerky's bad because of the sodium nitrate. Now they're like trading.
Maybe that's what blew up.
recipes
It
and
was a beef jerky
stuff.
plant.
A jerky plant. That's going to make prices soar. Did you see this the other day? You mentioned, you at least alluded to your favorite talk show host, Ellen DeGeneres, and the bad publicity she's getting. The left will turn on their own so quickly. It is unbelievable, folks.
But are they really turning on her? I know she's had some disgruntled employees and they quit, but Ellen seemed to sort of get I didn't know what was going on. And they kind of let her go.
Stop with her. Why doesn't the buck stop with Ellen?
Stops with everybody else.
There was a deal where several celebrities came out and said Leah Thompson was one. I don't know how much of a celebrity Leah Thompson is, but wasn't she the wife in all the Back to the Future movies? Yeah. And then also
she was almost a celebrity in the 80s.
Kind of. And then somebody else, anyway, several people said, yeah, she's difficult to get along with. And it all started with some girl that was on there. Forgot what movie she was in. Somebody here will know. Jimbo will know because he watches all that, Harlequin romance movies on Hallmark. One of the girls, Ellen sat down and said, so how was your birthday party? And the girl said, oh, it was fine. She goes, yeah, I just wondered because I didn't get invited. And she kind of like threw that on, Ellen kind of threw that on the guest. And the guest said, actually, Ellen, no, that's not correct. You were invited. And Ellen pressed it. Well, I didn't get an invitation. She said, no, you embarrassed me once before and made such a big deal about it that I made certain that my staff invited you and your producer knew. And she called her out right there on the show. And it led into the idea that Ellen has become somewhat of a bully and blah, blah, blah. Ellen's just, she's perky and cute. She'll be okay. She'll rally. But they gave her grief for sitting next to George Bush. And I want you to think about this. I'm not a huge W fan anymore because I've seen history is often best, reviewed in hindsight. And I have the context. I remember when these things went down and some of the things, some of you are going, oh, that's blasphemy. That's our own. That's George W. Bush. He was so-so as a president. And when I go back and look at some of the things that he did, I've never once labeled him a war criminal, and the left has. Ellen DeGeneres was sitting at the football game with that war criminal. I'm like, wow.
Peter McNally says Ellen's helped many folks. Maybe she's just hard to work for.
Very true. She's always been very generous and very giving, and she's very, very wealthy now.
Is that because she feels some guilt?
I don't know. White privilege. But then how do you explain Oprah?
Well, but they don't give Donald Trump that pass. He's been very giving, very supportive, even before he was president. A lot of money to charity.
A lot of money to the Democratic Party.
That too.
He was a big Democrat. Him and the Clintons were friends. Him and the Clintons and the Epsteins.
It just depends if they like it, whether or not you get the free pass of how giving you are.
When you get to that level, they all find a way to get along with each other behind the scenes. You ever seen W and Michelle Obama? They're buddies. They're friends.
Yeah.
It's craziness. We've been lied to so many times and for so long. We try to place so much respect and love into our leadership. I mean, don't. Just don't. Stand up for yourself.
I think that's part of the problem and why we're where we are in this country, because we've allowed our leaders to live a life that we've allowed them to get away with the behavior we abhor. as people.
There you go.
But because they're
They can
the
lie.
leader,
They can cheat.
they can do
That's
what
right.
they want, and we give them a free pass. And we had no problem with it until Donald Trump. And the interesting thing with President Trump is it's all his past doings that have caused him the problem.
Yeah.
We gave everybody a free pass for all their shortcomings, dalliances, moral dalliances, whatever you want to call it, while they were in the White House. Going back, to FDR, who had mistresses. JFK had mistresses. Lyndon Johnson had a bunch of mistresses.
They weren't as cute as JFK's, but he had them.
Richard Nixon was tapping into the Democrats.
I wonder where you were going with tapping. Oh, the stuff that happens now, Obamagate makes Watergate look like child's play. No doubt about it. And the stuff that Hillary Clinton, what was that stuff called that Hillary was in there? It had a Whitewater. Yeah. The deception, the depth, the breadth, the depth.
Jennifer Castle says it's not just the leaders, it's the celebrities as well. Exactly.
And now the leaders become celebrities.
Or celebrities became the leader.
That's right. Bill Clinton didn't have a mistress. Then he had a whole bunch. He had a herd.
No, I didn't even get to Clinton. Even George H.W.
But there
had
had
a
to
few
be
along
a
the way.
time, if we're honest, let's just be honest. Bill Clinton wasn't a bad-looking young guy. I think his deal with Hillary from the beginning was about power and money. And she said, "I'm going to ride this horse. This is the guy." And I don't think they were ever in love.
Business transaction.
And then you throw in, I'm going to tell you something else.
I don't think the president and the first lady is anything but a business transaction either.
Right. Oh, no doubt. But at least business is good. I'm going to tell you, if I was president of the United States and I was going to mess around, I could do better than Monica Lewinsky. She's like Pugsley. Okay, she was willing. I get it.
When was that? 92-ish, 93, somewhere in there? That was the one question that when, we were all sitting around drinking our Rolling Rock because it's all we could afford at $1 a big bottle back then in college.
$1 a big bottle.
You're the president. That's the best you can do.
She was just not that good.
But
it's got to be, you talk about quid pro quo. It's got to be overwhelming when you're an intern in Washington and you're obviously excited about being in politics.
Patrick Strauss says Hillary wasn't a bad looking guy either.
Right? No kidding. But they call you and say the president would like to visit with you. We're sending a car. If you're into politics and you're into power, which a lot of times is the same thing, these people, she couldn't help herself. She had to jump in the car. Most powerful man in the world. Since Frank Sinatra was dead.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jimmy Hoffa was disappeared.
Well, Hillary did that.
Final break.
Okay.
Gray Barn Design. Give Cheryl a call, 920-6803 for all your wedding parties of any type.
Reunions.
She will decorate it and design it and make it memorable. Take that weight off your shoulders.
Quinceañeras.
She can work with any budget, any venue, event of any size.
Because nothing says Mexican traditional party like design work from a Canadian American.
Yes.
It's like NAFTA. All of us working together for your good. 920-6803. That's Cheryl. Wind Services, Wind Generators.
That's Cheryl's phone number. That's not Cheryl.
920-6803. She has people that answer. 920-6803. That's her. Now, reach out to Wind Services, Wind Generators, generator season. Let them come evaluate how much power you need. You say, well, I just want to be able to keep my freezer and refrigerator on and some lights and, well, maybe the AC and, well, maybe my TV.
Here's the funny thing with that. I think you're going to get to that point, and then Wend's going to say, you know what? for just a little bit more, your whole house could have power.
Right.
That's where the cost of these things have come way down.
Natural gas,
and they've got all a diesel if you want one.
Sure.
But they've got all your favorite brands as well. All the reliable brands you've come to know.
Yeah, Cummins, Kohler,
Briggs and
Generac.
Stratton, Generac.
And they all now, they come with an app. It'll tell you, it'll self-test. Your system came on, your system generated power, your system's good to go.
Check the oil.
It does it all itself. And Wint also offers a very affordable maintenance program where they'll come out a couple of times a year and make sure it's ready to go. Like they come out in June, right before storm season, and make sure it's good to go. Because one of these days, you're going to need it, and it adds value to your home. Don't forget the solar panels and the ability to store the power backed up into a Generac battery pack. Knick-knack, paddywhack. Give the dog a bone.
USA Concrete Coatings. Give the dog a bone, it won't chip or crack that new concrete patio.
5, 7, 8 home, front porches, back patios, garage floors. You can turn your man cave into a really nice place. Put down some Dallas Cowboy flex.
Yeah, you can do the colors and whatever your favorite team is.
You can do a logo. You can put the star right in the middle of the floor. They'll do anything you want. It's really cool. I know you've got that pole in your garage for exercise. The exercise pole.
Yep.
Brass pole. Yep.
Chrome.
Nice.
Gotta
Might show a
Gotta
smudge.
polish brass too
That
much.
sound as the skin slides down the pole. Wow.
Not good.
Went USA Concrete Coatings.
578 home. Give them a call.
Brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey. They got it all. Get it to go. Drive in today. They're open 7 days a week. There's just too much demand. I mean, cows go in the back door, brisket comes out the front. That's how fresh it is. By the way, they're having a 2-for-1 special on cowhides this week. Go by and I dare you just to drive through and say, I just want a glass of iced tea. Wade and Carter sent me. It's the best iced tea in town, period. And I asked Jonathan, seriously, I said, man, what is it? It's tea. You know, you're getting it from me. He goes, you know what it is? We spend a lot of time scrubbing that tea urn. You'd be surprised how many places you go and drink tea. And if you just think about it for a minute, it's because there's slime in the ice machine. Telling you, reach out to Uncle Mudge. What did Bob Constantine say?
Said it was nice of you to give me that pole from your old man cave.
Right. Well, once I married Dawn, she's not much on this. She's more into aerobics than pole dancing. See, if T-Lat was the first lady, first of all, she would say Monica Lewinsky's not going to be your intern. She can't keep her mouth shut.
What was that?
Sounded like a pet in need of rescue.
It did.
The dog barked over here.
Ears perked up.
But I don't know what JFK was thinking either. They say that he basically described himself as just insatiable. I need it every day with different women. It's an affliction. It's a gift and a curse.
You've got to be one charismatic dude to pull that one off and get away with it.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. Honey, yes, I did have sex with that woman, but it's just because I just need it. Okay. There you have it. Ralph Salazar comes to the studio. He'll be here in a few minutes. Is it coincidence that we heard a small animal squeal? Did Ralph kick the local Chihuahua? What did he do there?
Nudged it with his bumper.
Vamos, pero. Yeah, I don't know.
Brent Anderson checking in.
Hi, Zip.
I just, again, Harvey Weinstein. I mean, you didn't even have to be in Hollywood to know the stories that came out of Hollywood, but Hollywood was willing and able and did look past all of that as long as they were still getting the parts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hey, I saw
the shot at a part.
I saw the video where Michelle Obama stood and just lauded what a great guy Harvey Weinstein. Just said, this whole event is attributable to the generosity. What a great American Harvey Weinstein is.
That video was from like 3 years ago. It wasn't that long ago that they were still willing to overlook everything that he was doing because
it had already been out.
he gave a lot of money.
Yeah, it had already been out. And he was trying to give enough money to insulate himself from the consequences. That's what it was. I'm giving away a lot of money so you guys will keep me from getting indicted.
I mean, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band wrote and performed a song called Face on the Cutting Room Floor that was all about Hollywood back in the day. That was a song from the late 80s, early 90s. For anybody to think that this was just a recent phenomenon in Hollywood
Just naive.
is naive. But
Jimbo Slice, think about
the Hollywood and the celebrities turned a blind eye to this for decades. This was going on back in the 30s and 40s and 50s.
The casting couch. Jimbo Slice says that Jackie hired the CIA to whack John Kennedy.
Yeah.
I can tell you that
I'm not
there's
going
something you have to know, both in the case of Abraham Lincoln and in the case of John F. Kennedy. People were torn. There was a large percentage of the country. In Kennedy's case, there was a large percentage of the country that said this guy needs to die. There was. He was not grossly popular. In Kennedy's case, we had become much more compassionate. But there were a bunch of people that said the country's better off since Kennedy's dead. They didn't say that they were glad he got killed. They just said, it's a lot better off. They hated the Bay of Pigs. They hated the stuff that happened. The missile crisis scared them to death. John F. Kennedy made some tough decisions in some really tough times. And I still contend Richard Nixon was twice the president John F. Kennedy ever thought about being.
You look back and you just, how does Jack Ruby get in the basement of the Dallas Police Department?
Yeah, and by the way, he's got
With a
terminal
gun.
cancer.
Yeah.
So, hey, Jack, why don't you do this for your country? So he goes down and shoots Oswald. There you go. The patsy died. Everything's over. And then he goes and dies in prison.
How does somebody get as close to Ronald Reagan to attempt to kill him as they did?
Yeah.
When you've got Secret Service everywhere.
John Hinckley.
Yes.
How did I know that? Is it John? Why did I want to say Elmer Wayne Hinckley? All the crazy people always have three names. You ever notice that? Ashley Wade, Walcho. They always have three names.
John Wayne Gacy.
They always have three names. Yeah.
Jeffrey Fonseca says we'll never know the whole JFK story.
We won't ever know the whole story. And yet, the fact that there are still classified documents associated with the Kennedy assassination lets me know that there's still military regimes in place that they don't want people to demand retaliation against.
Speaking of a military regime in place
Russia.
that this country will absolutely climb further in bed with if Joe Biden becomes president in November, even if it's only for a short time until whoever they can decide will actually be the president, because Joe ain't going to be there long.
Yep.
And now there's a lot of traction. We talked about this last week. These, kind of laughed about it. Oh, these seed packets from China. Well,
Be careful.
CIA's done a little bit more digging.
No
Others
pun
have done a little
intended.
bit more digging in this.
No
No
pun
pun intended. This is now being considered as a sort of agriculture terrorism, bioterrorism.
Who
They
thought
want-
Matt Boucher was going to become a cop?
Yeah, but they want anybody who has these seeds, don't plant them, don't throw them away, turn them in. The USDA and the government wants to see what's on these things, what they actually are.
It'll be like Caddyshack. It's no big deal. It's just a rose bush.
But I'm telling you, these aren't just random people in China sending seeds over to their cousins and going, hey, plant this Chinese mulberry bush. This is a concerted attack, and I bet you they're not sending these to somebody living on the 35th floor of a high-rise in Manhattan to plant in their window ledge. These are going into the heartland and into the agricultural centers of this country to destroy our crops, to make our fertile land unfertile.
It could be very easily some type of engineered seed that grows. They have vines and things that grow at tremendous rates It could be something that depletes all the nitrogen out of the soil. There's all kinds of things you can do with bioterrorism.
Yeah.
What is our wacky audience putting up there above? One guy's talking seriously about the Brady Act. Jimbo Slice says even after Reagan was shot, a lot of gun control debate and laws were put in place. And Jim Brady, I think, was all pro Second Amendment till he got shot. Then he flipped over.
Even though Reagan was shot with a revolver.
Yeah.
But now what's happening with this seed thing is just, I mean, and that's how simple it is. They're sending these things by mail. They're getting through. And people are stupid enough to just, I got some free seeds from China.
Adam Bobby says they're going to be growing pod people.
Yeah.
Nice. Zombie apocalypse.
Sea monkeys. But the other thing that worries me too, and it's along a similar vein, customs officials have seized 20,000 fake driver's licenses just in Chicago at O'Hare since the beginning of this year. And guess where they're coming from? The same place that the seeds are coming from. China. And I can only think the reason that there's 20,000 fake IDs being, and those are just the ones we've caught and we found. Why would that be this year? Because it's an election year.
Yeah, helping people vote illegally.
What else?
Is it your name? Like, is it something that's got a name sent out via Amazon once it gets here?
I don't know, but I mean, there's a picture of a person. These aren't 21-year-old people on these IDs, so you can sneak into the bar.
Right, which the bars are closed.
Yeah, well,
need to be reopened now. Mayor McCoy, open up our city.
This is all about.
Is it his call?
No, I think it's the governor's. But this is all about election fraud and voter fraud, and trying to, because China is not happy with the stance that President Trump has taken on them economically.
In times like these, you don't need fraud. You need the real deal. So hang close. Ralph Salazar, Brother Gary Moses are going to be in a minute. They're out there. They're already doing their show. All they do is just come in and bring their conversation in here with you. They'll be in here in a minute, and they are the real deal, no fraud out there. It's the real Brother Gary Moses. Ralph Salazar is doing his thing. He's back, going strong. We're going to get out of here.